Okay, so this is a quick and dirty guide to how I do chart cleanup. It's not the most thorough way, but sure is fast. I've slowed it down just to detail the different steps. So, beginning with Photoshop, open the image in Photoshop. And the first thing that we want to do is to correct the distortion that comes from shooting this with a camera. And so I'm going to stretch this image out until it's square. Now in this case I've got a pretty good frame around the chart, so I'm going to turn on the grid to make sure that I'm squaring up the chart's frame against the grid. Looks like it's kind of bowed out in the middle, so I'm going to use after I get the corners straight, I'm going to use the warp command right there to kind of push the middle back in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and now that I've got the frame square enough, I'm going to turn off the grid. Okay, now here's the really cool part of this. I'm going to do a high pass, which if you're familiar with photography is kind of a photo thing to do. You can play around with the radius of the pixels, and when you get a feel for what this means, you'll know whether or not to push it up or down depending on what kind of lighting you've got. I keep it at around 80 pixels. Then I open up the layers, and I generally set the white to 50 and the black to 125. And that's good enough. And if you take a look at this, it's pretty well balanced. But now I'm going to walk around the chart with a white paintbrush, look for any sort of smudges or tape marks that show up, and just touch it up a little bit. Okay, not seeing any more smudges, so I think that this is good enough. So I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG. And really there's no reason to save it any higher than 8 on this thing. 8 is pretty good. Any bigger than that you're dealing with 3 and 4 meg size files. So I've saved it. It shows up in my folder, and I just want to do one quick look at it using Windows Photo Viewer. And to me that looks good enough. Ready to move on to the next one.